Welcome to the Small Actions, Big Ripples podcast, where we shine a spotlight on individuals whose small, intentional actions create waves of positive change. I'm thrilled today to welcome to my studio Julia Buckley MP for Shrewsbury to talk about her journey in office so far and about her mission that involves improving the quality of life for the people of Shropshire. Julia, welcome. Can you tell us what inspired you to become an MP for Shrewsbury?
Okay. So I've been a member of the Labour Party for 30 years. It makes me sound very old. But I was usually behind the scenes delivering leaflets, knocking doors for other people. And my day job was working in government grants, so working in the public sector. And I actually worked in Brussels in the European Parliament for 5 years as a policy advisor, and then came back here to help businesses apply for grants, really, to help them grow, and community organisations. So I helped in the Labour Party, helped other people to win elections. I was more of a backroom girl. But one of my close friends who did become an MP, called Jo Cox, she was the same age as me, and we'd worked together in Brussels, and we've got kids the same age, and she's from Yorkshire like me. She was unfortunately killed. She was murdered, actually, in the job. And a lot of people, including myself, we were quite shocked. She was such a positive person. She brought people together cross-party, across lots of different issues. She was really the best person to have in the room. She could make everybody smile. She got on with everybody. She made a real impact in a short time. And when she died so suddenly, it really made me think that life is very short. And if you think something's important or worth doing, then it's not enough to wait for somebody else to do it. You have to just roll up your sleeves and get on with it yourself. So within the week, I decided to sign up as a local councillor, became a town councillor, then I became a county councillor, then I became leader of the Labour group, and then I stood for Parliament. So really in the space of 8 years since Jo Cox was murdered, I just decided not to waste a single minute and to do everything I could to try and make a difference and just get involved.
Thank you for sharing that story. Your connections with the local community ran deep, obviously, as a result of that and your personal lived experiences. Why do you think being an MP for Shrewsbury is so important for the local community and its people?
So, the thing about Shrewsbury is that it's such a beautiful place. You know, we have so many assets, don't we? The beautiful river, all our historic older buildings, the beauty we have within the town, and the people who are so friendly and, you know, run fantastic businesses, and the children I meet. But we also have quite a few problems. It's as though we're not maximising our full potential. So, you know, we need to unlock those businesses. We need to clean up the river. We need to sort out our congestion. And really, there's that gap between all the things that we could be and the reality of a few problems and barriers in the way. And I think that Shrewsbury needs a really strong voice, somebody who's prepared to speak up for the town, ask for investment, show leadership, resolve some of those problems so that we really shine and maximise our potential. And I'm not backwards in coming forwards. That's what we say in Yorkshire. So I'm not shy. I'm very, confident to speak up, call things out if they're not right, speak up if something's a problem, and ask for help or demand extra investment. I think that's a skill that I can definitely offer, is that, I'm a strong voice. And that's really, my task is to lend my voice to Shrewsbury and make sure that I'm an ambassador for the town whilst calling out the issues that we need sorting out.
I can vouch for that. I see you're very active on the social media and you're always campaigning. So looking at what you have achieved during your time in office so far, is there one thing that you are really especially proud of?
Yeah, so some things really take time. So, working with the floods, flood defences, but also looking at our public transport. And we'll come on to that, I guess, in a bit, about all the changes that we need to make. These things don't happen overnight. So there's lots of projects where I'm working hard and beavering away, but we probably won't see any immediate results for some time. But the one thing where I'm really determined to get a quick result is on the hospital. And we have really big problems with the car parking there. And I've done some really good joint working with the council, so Shropshire Council and the Hospital Trust, to bring them together and say we really have to have an immediate solution to alleviate that. And I've identified a field opposite the hospital, and I'm persuading the council that they need to lease that field to the hospital so it can be an extra car park, and we think also a drop-off for the park and ride. And really it'll be targeted at the staff. They currently have the chance to go on the park and ride for free. But if we can encourage the staff to park on this extra field, it's literally over the road, it will free up probably 100 to 200 spaces on the hospital car park for patients and visitors. And patients tell me sometimes they miss their appointment because they're just going round and round trying to find a space. And it's so stressful, especially for older visitors. And I'm really quite proud actually of our hospital trust that have offered the use of that bus for free. I'd like to take that as an example back to the Secretary of State for Health, so Wes Streeting, and I'd like to say to him, why don't we offer every NHS worker a free bus pass? So the government pay for the bus pass so that we're effectively persuading staff to switch up their cars for public transport. It's better for the environment. It'll free up spaces on every hospital car park in the country. And in the meanwhile, the government are giving more money for buses at the moment. But at the end of the year, they're going to measure how many people have travelled on that bus. So if I can show lots of NHS workers have travelled on those buses, we'll get more and more bus routes. So I think there's a possibility here that Shrewsbury could be a shining light that leads the way for the country. So it's a little project that I think quite soon we could get that extra car park locally, but I really want to show the rest of the country, like lead the way and how this could be done.
I wish you the best of luck with it. It sounds absolutely amazing and well done. And I hope that people who have the money and the purse strings, as we say, they listen to you. And I say it could be an example for others to follow. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Shrewsbury leading the way.
Can you share a story during your time in office where your work has made a real difference to a community group?
So I'm going to break the rules a little bit and tell you about an example from when I was an elected councillor, so before I became an MP, but it's the thing I'm probably most proud of in all my time as an elected person. And that's that in my town, across the whole of Shropshire, the Shropshire Council were cutting the funding to all the youth clubs. This is 3 years ago. And lots of those youth clubs then had to close. And the only option were for smaller town councils to take on the cost to run them. And some councils did that and some just couldn't. And in the town where I was living at the time, in Bridgenorth, we tried everything to persuade the local town council to take on the youth club, and they just couldn't do it, wouldn't do it. And people were really worried that we would have more antisocial behaviour, kids would fall under the radar, they might get involved in county lines, or they might not get enough food, they might have mental health problems, around COVID time. And so I tried every which way. I tried a media campaign, I tried to persuade the councillors, I kept bringing amendments back to the council. And in the end, it was clear to me that the council were not going to do it. And so then that night I went home really frustrated. My poor husband had to hear the whole sorry tale from beginning to end. And I set up a crowdfund webpage that night. And we had to raise £18,000. And the whole town pulled together. We had over 100 donations. We had all the businesses chipping in. Within 1 week, we had all the money that paid for the youth club for the whole year. And the whole town were showing actually that they sort of wanted to be taxed. They wanted to contribute to save the youth club for the young people. And the most beautiful part about it is that the young people felt that they mattered. They felt that somebody cared. Well, they felt like hundreds of people cared. The whole town was talking about it. Everybody was going on the Just Giving page, and they really felt invested in. And the next year, there were local elections on that little town council, and we had an 18-year-old, one of the people from the youth club, stood for council, became elected as one of the youngest councillors in the country. And then a majority on the council then voted that the council will fund the youth club every year going forwards. So, pulling the community together to show them how important young people are, everybody wanting to do their bit. But then the influence that had on those young people, they then wanted to get involved in how things were run. And I'm probably most proud of that, of everything I've done. I'm sure there'll be loads more to come in Parliament. But so far, I'm really pleased how that went and how they've carried that on, as a group.
So of all the challenges that you are facing in your day-to-day job, is there one particular obstacle that you're facing time and time again? And how do you overcome it?
So This is a really hard question. It's hard to pinpoint. I mean, we all have tricky days where some things are more difficult than others. It's really hard to pinpoint one thing which makes things harder. But probably, when my government came into office, we were faced with quite a large deficit. So lots of commitments to finance things without the money in the budget. And so lots of very difficult decisions had to be made. And some decisions which are really uncomfortable, like changing the winter fuel allowance, the rules around farmers, some of the rules around national insurance contributions. And some of those decisions are really hard to deliver. I haven't always enjoyed voting for those, and some of those I didn't vote for. And that really has been the challenge about some of the national picture things are necessary, but I can see that it's not something that I can vote for easily. That's really difficult. If I don't vote for things for my government, I wouldn't be a Labour MP, and then I'd be sitting as a little independent all on my own in a dark corner and no ministers would talk to me. So it's a really fine balance between supporting the government and the good work that we're doing around the minimum wage, and the stuff around the schools and their health. It's fantastic. But finding a way to influence, shape. I've done a lot of work behind the scenes to try and negotiate, to tweak that, to make it more palatable. But it's really difficult because I'm part of a government that is doing so much good that sometimes we have one or two tricky decisions in there as well. So the way that I work is I try to be really open with people and transparent. So on the welfare reforms, I did a video in which I explained what it meant. I explained what was happening. I explained how I tried to work with ministers behind the scenes, and that there's still an opportunity. There's a consultation on that decision at the moment where anyone can feed in and I can keep feeding in. So that's my current strategy, is try and be open with people that it isn't easy, but look, let's work together to see how we can navigate this.
Your passion is palpable, Julia, for what you're doing. And my next question is, what motivates you to continue doing what you are doing?
So I do have a powerful voice. I'm not shy. I'm quite happy to pipe up if something's not right or I think something's not fair. And in my life, I've met lots of people who don't have that voice. They don't have the ability or the opportunity or the resources to speak up when something's not right or something's not fair. And so really my job is to lend my voice to those people, to look out for the most vulnerable, people who are being mistreated or exploited or who need help, but don't have the good fortune and the resources that you and I have. So I see it as my job really to lend my voice. And whenever I meet people in that situation, I'm so inspired by how much challenge and difficulty people can tolerate and people work through. I mean, just this week in Parliament, there was an award ceremony for access students. So they did a particular access course in order to get to university. And there were 4 award winners. One's going to be a paramedic, one's going to be a midwife, one's going to be a nurse. I can't remember what the 4th one's going to do. But there was a student there, Libby Histed from Shrewsbury College, who had done fantastically well and had got a place at Oxford University.
I did see the post.
Yeah, it was amazing.
What a success story.
Yeah, but we listened to their stories of adversity. So what these adults, and some of them were, older adults, what they had gone through and the challenges they had overcome in order to get their qualifications, it was so humbling. I didn't have those challenges. I was really fortunate. I wasn't evicted and homeless and have 5 children and have people in my family pass away. I didn't have that. And I listened to their stories, and despite the odds, they had achieved all of those things. And every time you hear a humbling story like that, you remember that. That is why we're here, isn't it? To lend them our voice and to speak for them and advocate for them and to make sure that they get everything that they deserve.
What of the future, Julia? What are your visions for the future of Shrewsbury and its people?
So I have so many ideas. There's just not enough time to get them all done. So I've got transport, water, public health and education. Those are my 4 big areas that I try to be really proactive on. So on the water, we really need to sort out the sewage, obviously, but the flooding is a big issue. So I managed to get a parliamentary inquiry into flooding, and the committee are going to come to Shrewsbury and take evidence here, which is great. We've got the 16 million for the flood. It's not just defences, it's nature-based solutions further upstream on the River Severn, so that the impact of floods will be much less in large populations like Shrewsbury. On the trains, we have at the moment, Shrewsbury is not really well served because we fall between two loops, between the West Midlands and Wales. And they always tell me this funny description of our railway station, which is that Shrewsbury is the second busiest station in Wales.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but we're not in Wales, are we? So it's quite a funny thing to say. But what they mean is that Transport for Wales run our station and fund all the services west of here. And we are the second busiest, 2.2 million people travelling through Shrewsbury. And we basically are that gateway between the Midlands with all those workers and tourists and Wales with all the equally people commuting and their places to access. And really, we could easily have double the number of services because of the latent demand in our town. So my plan really for Shrewsbury is to unlock those services, so more trains. We're waiting to hear a project to get 5 direct trains a day to London, starting this August. We're just waiting for the report from Euston Station. So the government have said yes. The train company want to do it. We're just waiting to hear from Euston whether they can cope with the extra capacity. And if so, I want to be the first passenger on that train in August, the direct train to
I'll join you
London.
on that trip, Julia.
Great! We can wave together out of the window.
That is amazing.
But my real dream is for the building. Have you ever looked up at the building at the station?
It's just an incredible building.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous and we're so lucky. But at the moment, it's just a few offices. It's literally underused. So my dream is that we unlock it for economic use. So we could have a boutique hotel. We could have a restaurant, maybe a co-working space. On the ground floor, we want a cafe with a plaza at the front with fountains. Get all the cars around the back and have the pedestrians walk in the front. And I think it would be beautiful and it would really do justice to the building that we have. And it would be that economic thriving hub that people use. And many more people would enjoy using it and we would really bring it to life. So that's my dream for the station. You've heard about my dream for the hospital. My final dream is for the education, is that I was really disappointed last year when the University of Chester left Shrewsbury. And so we now don't really have a university presence in the centre. We have some great partnerships over at the hospital and I think that works really well. But I think that we deserve to have our own university back in Shrewsbury. And I'm doing a lot of work, with the council and with some local partners and the great college that we have to try and attract a university back into Shrewsbury. And I really hope those are my sort of big ticket plans that each week we look at the whiteboard in my office and say, what have we done to move those projects forward this week? Have we moved forward a millimetre? Have we moved forward a mile? As long as we keep moving forward, try and get some traction on those projects.
This sounds impressive, Julia. If you were to give a piece of advice, perhaps to a young woman who wants to go into politics and make a positive difference for her community and beyond.
So I'm the first female MP that Shrewsbury's ever had. And when I was elected to my little town council, I was the only person under the age of 40. I mean, I was under the age of 40, but everybody else was in their 70s. So I suppose what I'm saying is that you don't need to see somebody that looks like you before you think it's the right thing for you, that every opportunity is there to be seized. And what I really learned after Joe died is that life is short and precious and that we can spend a lot of time thinking about something that we might do, but we're a bit self-conscious or we don't feel confident or we don't have the resources or the money or we think somebody else would do it better. But actually, after Joe died, I didn't care about any of those things anymore. I didn't care if I looked silly or people laughed at me or people didn't talk to me. And so then I just took action. And that very first day that I went out, it was towards the end of the campaign for the Brexit vote for the EU, and I was for the EU. I wanted us to stay. And I got some resources, a T-shirt and some posters, and I walked into the town centre wearing this T-shirt that said yes to the Europe. And I thought my heart was absolutely pounding because I was really scared. I was really quite scared that I was putting myself out there in a small community where I thought people would judge me, that they would not talk to me, they might even be angry with me, they might say all kinds of awful things. And in Shropshire, we're quite a quiet community, aren't we? People don't like to talk politics or reveal their hand or engage in a public way. I think we're quite modest. And so I was quite scared that was quite a public display of my feelings about the EU. But because I was so upset about Joe, I pushed through and walked her into the town centre. And when I was there, so many people came up to me and thanked me and supported me and bought me coffees or even just winked at me if they were too shy to show their public display. And by the time I came home, I didn't just feel better and calmer, but I really felt a sense of that I had done something practical, something pragmatic that was in line with what I felt. So all these feelings you have inside, that you're frustrated or you're angry or you're disappointed, or a sort of sense of longing that you wish you could do this or you wish it was different, by taking action, all of those feelings turn into this sense of satisfaction and reward that you have done something to move it forward. And I think it was perhaps the most cathartic thing that I did. And I suppose it's a little bit addictive, because then you want to do more and you want to make more progress. So really, I would say, take action. Don't wait. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. The sooner you start, the sooner you feel better about whatever it is that you were upset, angry, disappointed about. Once you start to take the action, you feel better yourself, but you're also making it better for everybody else. So don't think somebody else can do it better than you. Just start. I think that's my advice.
Let's hold on to that thought, and a great piece of advice. So anybody listening out there or watching, I would totally 100% agree. If you care, take action for the common good. Not only you're going to benefit the society, the community around you, but also it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And that is a cycle, a virtuous cycle that then you can pass that on to somebody else. And
here's the secret, okay? There might be 20 people that could do it better than you. But if they never get round to it, it never happens.
Yeah. Somebody needs to start it.
Yeah, so in the end, it isn't about who's the best person for the job. It's about who's going to do the job. In the end, that's all that really matters.
Julia, what is a surprising little fact about you that might surprise listeners?
I suppose a surprising thing, because I'm not looking very athletic anymore, is that a very long time ago, I ran the New York Marathon with my friend Jo Cox and my friend Susie Sumner. Not very quickly, so if you ever look at the time on there, you'll be appalled. And I said I would never, ever run a marathon again, but I do enjoy light touch exercise. But yeah, it was just after 9/11. So just after all the attacks in New York, 2 months later in the November, we were running through the 5 boroughs of New York. And it was really quite an incredible experience. And I think it really showed me that I can push myself to do anything, even if my body and my mind aren't entirely ready. It shows you that you can really achieve anything. People who know me know that I'm really not very athletic, so it is quite a big surprise.
So it's a kind of a mind over matter thing. So
that's it. And I think if it hadn't been for those two, I probably would not have gone through with it. But they were great. So also, I suppose the power of friendship can get you through anything.
If you had one superpower, Julia, what would that be?
I think it would be the power of patience. So I used to be very impatient. In some ways, I am sort of impatient because I want to bring about change. But my son is very mildly autistic. And when he was younger, we found things quite tricky. And it changed our mindset quite a lot, away from judging people, I suppose, towards being more patient, trying to understand, because we had to understand Edward and how to do things differently. That was a really big change for me, to approach things with patience and understanding, rather than why can't we do this quicker or why can't we do this better. And I think a lot of the time it's about remembering that, for me, not interrupting people or rushing through things, listening and understanding and showing patience. And I think that is really a gift from my son to me. And if I could give that gift to other people, I think it would really change a lot of relationships, reduce a lot of tensions, and it would make the world definitely a better place.
I would agree wholeheartedly. Taking the time to listen, be patient with people, and always a reminder, we've got 2 ears, 1 mouth. If we spend twice as long of our time listening to people rather than rushing to talk, the world will be a better place. So well done for being a champion of that. Finally, the ubiquitous biscuit question for all politicians. Julia, if you were a biscuit, what biscuit would you be? So
I would be my favourite biscuit, which is a rich tea, which is a really plain, very underestimated biscuit. So if you had a choice of biscuits, nobody would choose the rich tea because it looks so plain and boring. But actually, it's always underestimated because it's always not just delicious, but smooth and crisp. My favourite way is to have it with a layer of lemon curd on the top, even a little lemon curd sandwich. So 2 rich tea biscuits with lemon curd in the middle. So although it seems plain, You can dress it up into something more exciting if you need to, but it's always reliable, it's always fantastic, and it's always better than you remembered. So things, people, biscuits, people like me, women in politics, we can often be underestimated. People don't expect much from women, or we're put down. But then what happens throughout your life is people are always pleasantly surprised because they didn't expect so much from you. So to all the underestimated rich tea biscuit people out there, we will always pleasantly surprise people.
So that's you in a nutshell, or rather, that's you in a rich tea biscuit, Julia. Thank you for sharing this. Well, that is a wrap for this episode of the Small Actions Big Ripples podcast. Thank you to Julia Buckley for being my guest today and for sharing her inspiring story of her time in office and of her journey as an MP for Shrewsbury. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.